Venezuelan ambassador in Colombia Felix Plasencia presented his credentials to President Gustavo Petro. During the meeting, they discussed issues of binational interest. Multiple organizations and social movements in the Dominican Republic demand the replacement of the healthcare model in the face of abuses by insurance companies. Burundi's parliament removed the prime minister and other high-ranking officials following the president's warnings of an alleged coup plot. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Colombia, Venezuela's ambassador to that nation, Felix Plasencia, held a meeting at the Nariño Palace to deliver his credentials to President Gustavo Petro. The ambassador of Venezuela, after being received by the presidential guard in the north wing of the Casa de Nariño, entered the building to proceed with the official act of his accreditation as ambassador of Colombia. In addition to Plasencia, 4 other ambassadors made official their diplomatic presence in the country before the new president of Colombia. The re-establishment of relations between Venezuela and Colombia comes after almost a 4-year hiatus. In the middle of the Brazilian presidential campaign, President and candidate Jair Bolsonaro incorporates evangelicals and farmers to the military parade for the 200th anniversary of the country's independence. Authorities confirm a program of military events throughout the city of Rio de Janeiro, while the main event of the day will take place in the afternoon at Copacabana Beach. The event will be attended mainly by Bolsonaro and the sectors that support him for re-election in 2022 elections, while the leaders of the public powers will be absent. The former president and candidate Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva denounced that Bolsonaro intends to observe Independence Day and use it for electoral purposes. In this context, social movements belonging to the Scream of the Excluded, a popular demonstration that has been taking place in the country since 1995 and which is responsible for raising various claims and making visible the situation of inequality in the country, is carrying out activities to help the needy sectors. In this 28th edition, social sectors denounce the food insecurity, which exceeds 33 million people in the country, in addition to the violation of democracy by the current president and his attacks against the institutionality. In the Dominican Republic, multiple organizations and social movements are marching in protest against the health situation and insurance company abuses. The Dominican Medical Association ratified the call to mobilize to demand their rights to decent health and pensions, while rejecting the management of the pension fund administrators and health risk administrators. The president of the Medical Association, Senen Cava, explained that the march will go all the way to the National Social Security Council in Santo Domingo. He assured that they would seek to deliver a document to call for the fulfillment of their demands, with the possibility of extending the protest.
We are marching today in the Dominican Republic to tell Buque and the businessmen not to cheat on the AFP and the ABIMA, that the ABIMA is untouchable. It belongs to us, and we will live with our 100% when we retire. And today, a number of organizations such as ADP, FAPOBAS, the medics, we are marching so that in the Dominican Republic they do not build another ARS, because that they want is to get rich with our money.
In Haiti, people continue to protest against inflation and violence. After several days of mobilizations and clashes with the police, protests continue in the streets of Port-au-Prince. This Wednesday, people are demanding the government to lower prices, especially on fuel, and to curb criminality. During last weekend's protest, police used tear gas to disperse crowds. However, demonstrators have said they will continue to demand better living conditions, a stop to rampant criminality, and the resignation of every and government. Mexico's Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard rejected the unilateral warning given by the United States asking its citizens not to visit specific Mexican institutions for security reasons. The statements by the Mexican diplomat came after the U.S. ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar, warned his fellow countrymen about traveling to the city of Zacatecas because of high levels of violence. It was during Salazar's visit to the state that he criticized its insecurity and pointed out that due to the increase in crime, his office added the city to a lookout list. In response, Ebrard pointed out that Mexico also has its travel advisories but never has taken similar measures, saying that it would be senseless. Argentina's workers held a rally in defense of democracy and in support of Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. The General Secretary of the Road Workers Union, Fabian Catanzaro, pointed out that the banderazo is being held all over the country and the central event is taking place in Buenos Aires under the slogan "Enough Lawfare." Catanzaro stated that the call is also made in order to defend the rights of workers. Also, he questioned the actions of prosecutor Dio Luciani, who requested 12 years in prison for Fernandez and her disqualification to hold public office for alleged irregularities in the awarding of works in the province of Santa Cruz. In Paraguay, former President Fernando Lugo was transferred to Argentina to continue his rehabilitation after suffering a brain stroke. According to Senator Jorge Carey, local treatments for Lugo have already been evaluated and they have also received solidarity invitations to help the former president from Cuba and Brazil. This happens after the former head of state suffered a stroke last August 10th when he was in Congress, and since then he is still connected to a respirator receiving neurological, respiratory and motor treatments. We're going to take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back from the South. The European Commission decided not to endorse the MidCat gas project, which aims to supply gas to several countries in the region. The European Council's energy spokesman, Tim McVie, stressed that they cannot take a specific position on the energy project proposed by Spain due to the absence of other member states. The official affirmed that the project is not part of the updated list of projects of common interest and that it requires further evaluation and detailed balance sheets from its promoters. In this sense, French President Emmanuel Macron outright rejected the initiative and stated that it would be a mistake to insist on the issue. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz urged the European Union to review other proposals in the face of the looming threat of winter. Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen presented on Wednesday her proposal to European governments to tackle the energy crisis and contain rising prices. Among the measures, Brussels proposes to establish mandatory electricity savings, introduce a cap on profits for companies reducing low-cost electricity, reduce the revenues of companies through a solidarity levy, and liquidity support for energy utilities.
We now find ourselves in a different situation than we were a year ago, because we have saved energy, because we have taken all these precautions, because we have taken this decision. We are in a situation where we can say that we are going to get through this winter despite all the tensions, with the preparations that we have made, which no one could have guaranteed 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen presented on Wednesday her proposal to European governments to tackle the energy crisis and contain rising prices. Among the measures, Brussels proposes to establish mandatory electricity savings, introduce a cap on profits for companies producing low-cost electricity, reduce the revenues of energy companies through a solidarity levy, and liquidity support for energy utilities. Russian state-owned Gazprom said natural gas deliveries to European Union countries have fallen 48% so far this year. The Russian gas giant also reported the total drop in supplies will be 49% if the United Kingdom is included. The report comes as Moscow denounces Canada's refusal to provide supplies to repair the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. And in the world of sports, Rigoberto Urán won stage 17 of the Vuelta on Wednesday after a swashbuckling high-altitude struggle to a mountaintop in Monastery in Extremadura as defending champion Primož Roglič withdrew injured. Aiming for a fourth straight Vuelta, Roglič was a non-starter due to injuries from a fall Tuesday when he was trying to gain time on race leader Remco Evenepoel, who Wednesday lost 5 seconds to his closest rival Enric Mas. The Belgian leads by 2 minutes 01 seconds with 19-year-old Juan Ayuso in third. Colombia's Urán was completing a collection of stage wins in all 3 of cycling's Grand Tours. Stage 18 and 20 feature multiple mountains when Mas will hope to attack Evenepoel.
It is always very nice to win. In La Vuelta, I have been chasing it for many years, because when you already have victories in the Giro and in the Tour, and now in La Vuelta as a rider for 3 week events, it gives me a lot of happiness. Today is a very special day for me. I want this stage win in La Vuelta since many years. Finishing here today first gives me a lot of happiness. Thanks to the team, all the people who have made this possible, my family, and myself, because I am the first to believe in myself.
And teleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied our crew in the last 2 World Cups. With the football star, we also tour our continent with the show De Sur da Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to write and compose a song for teleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song never recorded before or published in any media and free of legal attachments. Record the song in any format, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones@telesurtv.net with the following information: author's name, nationality, and name of the song. The closing date for the call for entries is September 10th, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after the closing of the call, teleSUR will announce the results. We have more news coming up after our final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Burundi's President Evariste Ndayishimiye replaced Prime Minister Alain Guillaume and Civilian Chief of Staff General Gabriel Nizigama after a high-level investigation that warned of a coup plot against him. At a hastily called parliamentary session on Wednesday, lawmakers approved the appointment of Security Minister Geve Kabuka to replace Bunjoni in an unanimous 113-0 vote. President Ndayishimiye gave no reason for Bunjoni's dismissal, but last week he had warned of a coup conspiracy against his government. Burundi head of state also appointed Colonel Alois Sindajihebura, who was in charge of the domestic branch of the National Intelligence Service, as his new chief of staff. In Sudan, 17 people died after the collapse of a gold mine in the south of the country. The victims were illegally miners, 6 of them South Sudanese refugees who extracted the precious metal at a depth of 40 meters outside formal operations, according to the operating company. The authorities assured that 2 bodies were rescued after the collapse. However, the search was suspended due to the rains. The United Nations warns that Somalia will be experiencing a famine by the end of this year. UN Secretary General Special Representative in Somalia, James Swan, told the UN Security Council on Wednesday that Somalia is facing a humanitarian catastrophe as the African nation is on the brink of starvation, with nearly half of its population afflicted by the worst drought seen over the past 40 years. He said that there are concrete signs that between October and December this year, some 200,000 people will be suffering from starvation. The UN said extreme climate conditions in Somalia may persist until March 2023 and have a catastrophic outcome. And on the same topic, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made an urgent call for international aid for Somalia.
Finally, we remain deeply concerned about the situation in the Sahel and the Greater Horn of Africa and particularly in Somalia. Parts of Somalia are projected to fall into famine in the very near future unless there is an urgent scale-up in humanitarian assistance. Millions more people in the other parts of the country are facing extreme hunger, and it's likely that many people have already starved to death. A rapid scale-up in humanitarian assistance since early this year has saved many lives. But the resources that WHO and our partners have to respond to the crisis are outstripped by the explosion in needs. Somalia and its neighbors in the Greater Horn of Africa, as well as the countries of the Sahel region, need the world's help, and they need it now.
In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces have detained at least 27 Palestinian men during a large-scale arrest campaign. Israeli forces detained 6 Palestinians after breaking into and ransacking their families' homes in the town of Silwat, northeast of Ramallah city. Among the detainees were 2 17-year-olds and a father with his son. They also raided the village of Kaf Ain, northwest of Ramallah, and arrested 2 other people. They also broke into Beita, forcing their way into several houses and detaining 3 people. On Wednesday, the director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Caris Etienne, said the Americas have once again become the epicenter of a global disease outbreak, and the region has become the highest burden of monkeypox cases worldwide. More than 30,000 cases have been reported mainly in the United States, Canada, Brazil, and Peru, and so far 4 monkeypox-related deaths have been reported in Brazil, Cuba, and Ecuador. This is the second time in recent years that the countries of the Americas are the global epicenter of a virus outbreak.
To focus on monkeypox, since the Americas have once again become the epicenter of a global disease outbreak. Monkeypox was declared a public health emergency of international concern in July by the WHO. And our region is now home to the highest burden of monkeypox cases worldwide. As of September 6, over 30,000 monkeypox cases have been reported in the Americas, with most cases concentrated in the United States of America, Brazil, Peru, and Canada.
teleSUR English continues to grow. It still now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer, tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in all the faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and unfaithfulness to our audience. Like this, we have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.